The badge, it was a hot summer afternoon in the city of Elmwood, a bustling metropolis that never seemed to slow down. Cars honked, street vendors shouted, and the distant hum of city life swirled together in a constant buzz. Officer Garrett Holt, known for his sharp uniform and stern demeanor, was patrolling the downtown area when his eyes caught a figure walking down the sidewalk. The man, a middle-aged black veteran named Samuel Turner, walked with a slow but deliberate pace, carrying a weathered duffel bag. Samuel had just returned from a long overseas trip, one of many during his time in the military. His face, weathered from years of service, held the weight of experiences only a few could truly understand. Officer Holt, however, wasn't thinking about Samuel's service or the burdens that came with it. He had grown up in a small, sheltered town, where his views about race and the world were heavily influenced by the culture around him. His prejudices had festered over time, and he looked at Samuel through the lens of those biases. "Hey, you!" Holt shouted, his voice carrying a harshness that turned heads. Samuel paused but didn't immediately respond. He was used to the glares, the whispers, the judgment, especially from someone in uniform. "Yeah, you." "Stop right there!" Holt barked again. Samuel turned to face him, his eyes calm but wary. "What's the problem, officer?" he asked, his voice steady. "You know how many times I've had to deal with people like you?" Holt's words came out before he could filter them. "Walking around like you own the streets. You got an ID?" Samuel sighed. He had been stopped before, but it was usually a quick and polite exchange. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his military ID, still carrying the remnants of his years in service. The card was old, but it was real. "Here you go, officer. I'm just coming back from a trip overseas." Holt snatched the ID from his hand, his eyes scanning the numbers and details with an expression that said he wasn't interested in the man's story. "You think you're special just because you served in the military?" Holt muttered. He flipped the ID over, not realizing what he was holding. Then something caught Holt's eye, the insignia on the badge. It was unmistakable. Samuel wasn't just a veteran. He was a decorated one. His military career had taken him into some of the most dangerous situations, and the badge he carried represented not only his service, but the sacrifices he'd made. Holt's grip on the ID tightened, his fingers suddenly feeling cold. "What? What's this?" Holt stammered, his gaze locking onto the badge with disbelief. He had only just begun to make a few hasty assumptions about Samuel, but this was different. He wasn't just dealing with any black man on the street. He was face to face with someone who had served in wars, someone whose bravery was documented in the very badge he held. Samuel, noticing the sudden shift in Holt's demeanor, took a slow step forward. "It's my badge. I earned it. It's who I am." Holt stumbled back, visibly shaken. "I didn't know. I didn't realize." He trailed off, the confusion and discomfort evident on his face. The truth of the moment began to dawn on him. For a long beat, the street seemed to hold its breath. Samuel, his calm demeanor unwavering, watched the officer struggle with his internal conflict. Holt had always prided himself on doing the right thing, but in that instant, he was forced to confront the ugliness of his own bias. He had almost made a decision based purely on fear, prejudice, and an assumption he'd built his entire life around. "I'm sorry," Holt finally muttered, his voice quiet. His hand trembled as he handed back Samuel's ID, his face flushed with the shame of what he almost did. I should have treated you differently. You're not just anyone." The words were clumsy, inadequate, but they were all he could muster. Samuel nodded slowly, his expression softening. "You're right, but you didn't treat me just like anyone. You treated me like a threat, and that's the problem. You can't just assume things about people because of how they look." Holt stood there, the weight of his actions pressing down on him. He had caught a glimpse of his own prejudice, the ugly undercurrent that had shaped his views for far too long. Samuel wasn't just a black man on the street. He was a veteran who had given more than most could imagine, a man whose dignity deserved respect no matter the color of his skin. "Take care, officer," Samuel said, his voice calm but firm. "And remember, we're all just people." Holt didn't reply, only nodded slowly as Samuel turned and walked away, leaving him standing there in the heat of the afternoon sun. The badge in Holt's hand felt heavier now, a reminder of the lessons learned in the most unexpected way.